Please pay attention to this. It's important. Coronavirus is killing more African Americans than any other group of people in the United States.
It's an epidemic jumping on top of a bunch of other epidemics already in the Black community.
Black folks are getting infected more because they're exposed more. They're dying more because our bodies have borne the burden of chronic disinvestment, active neglect in our communities.
This map shows concentrations of high numbers of cases on Milwaukee's north side, and those numbers are just growing.
The area now has the highest concentration of positive COVID-19 cases in the entire county.
Shut it down.
This Walgreens, y'all. This Walgreens. Oh man.
We know you brought the National Guard in here. Why did you shut it down?
I'm going to answer your question, sir.
Wait. Before he answers the question, let me tell you a little bit about my home city of Milwaukee. Home of the Brewers, home of the Bucks, and home of the Pagodas of Washington High School. Wait, what's that? Where my parents both met. My father was actually the mascot and met my mother in 1969 and became high school sweethearts. Of course, they fell in love. Their love was the same, but their race was different. My mom was white and my father was black, something uncommon and unorthodox for both of their families and communities in the climate of the 60s with all the racial inequalities. Being revolutionaries, my parents had a positive perspective on life and hopes for Milwaukee. They both became Milwaukee public school educators and decided to have me. They felt that if you worked hard and mind your business, then you would succeed. Of course I endured racism, but coming from strong parents, they always pushed me just to ignore it and to work harder. Growing up in the inner city, I had a pretty much normal life as a child. My summers were the best. Going to Summerfest, eating custard, and of course hanging out with the fam at the lake. I'm positive my parents would have never put me in harm's way. But growing up in Milwaukee, my chances were slim. First I had to make it to 18 without dying from violence. Then make it to 21 without being incarcerated. You're now telling me that I can die from this thing called coronavirus? I would have never thought that the same inequalities and systematic racism that my parents experienced in the 60s would still be prevalent today.
My father moved here in 1946. In 1950, well, I should say from the time that I can remember, black people couldn't go from, it might have been Verliet at the farthest, from Verliet Street to North Avenue. You better not go past North Avenue. Everybody black used to live in one area. And that's how I know that it was racism, because you couldn't go nowhere.
The segregation in Milwaukee, it's so out in the open. Like it's really sad.
Segregation is a major portion. We are hyper-segregated. We're lead in the nation, 1 or 2. We always fight over that, to lead in the nation for the most segregated city. But I believe it also has become generational, that people live in certain areas and that people have become accustomed to that. And so I think some of it is taught. But I also know the Milwaukee that does not have opportunity, does not have access to pathways and supports for success. And I've not only seen it in my family, I've seen it on my block, I've seen it in our community. You know, I'm in 53206. So, you know, the worst zip code, you know, they would say per capita in the nation for mass incarceration, unemployment, and the list goes on. You could look at the work of Leonard Wells, God rest his soul. We lost him to coronavirus, but he was from here and did a study. In particular, it showed if you took a white man and a black man and they both had an opportunity to interview, you know, for a job, and if the white man had a criminal record and the black man did not, that the white man would get the interview and would get the job before the black man even got an interview.
From high school, even when I became a law enforcement officer, I had people in my academy, my recruit class, that had never like physically touched an African American. I had people ask, can I feel your hair? I'm getting ready to be a cop in Milwaukee, and I've never dealt with an African American person, right? I think they need to really understand us, and you need people around them that can assist and help them and let them know, well, this is how the African American community is, right? Not that we're better than or less than, but we're definitely not the same. And if you don't understand the culture of people that you're serving, how can you really meet their need? How can you really meet their need?
And then the other is really, I would say, economics, more than anything. The depth of poverty. You know, we are a city and a state that used to wave the flag to say, bring us all your people who want to get government assistance. AFDC, we used to have the highest payments in the nation. So that poverty level of not one, not two, but maybe 3 generations of individuals that have been on government assistance, and people may not realize how much it means that if you've never seen anybody really work, that it's just not a part of what you do. That poverty is really concentrated. And I believe that that's part of the reason, right? That we also see the disparities, for example, that we're seeing with the coronavirus.
The problem of economic deprivation is one of the most serious problems. It may be the most serious problem that the Negro confronts. That there is de facto segregation in the public schools in Milwaukee, as in most of the other big cities of our country.
You know, I was born and raised in 53206, so I was super immersed in, you know, poverty. I'm of poverty, right? So it is not poverty itself. It is how we, and when I say we, I'm talking about like the wider educational enterprise of educators, right? It is how like we view or are taught to view poverty and students who come from poverty. So we're often, you know, it's just a lot of deficit ideology or deficit thought that goes, you know, that is associated with children of poverty.
Some of the children in our ministry go to Milwaukee public schools, and my children go, they're in another school district, right? And it's totally, like I actually just had this conversation about when this pandemic first started, because my kids got Chromebooks. They're still doing live virtual schooling. I mean, they're engaging with the teacher. They still have gym class. Like, they got to record themselves for 20 minutes, send it over. And a lot of our members that were with Milwaukee Public Schools, I'm not knocking Milwaukee Public Schools, right? I'm a product of it, right? But it's just not the same.
What has happened during this, it has illuminated a lot of racial and social disparities that needed to come to the surface. For example, if I can just illustrate the digital divide gap, right? There's a digital divide gap. So some, let's say in affluent school districts, they got one Chromebook per student. The school has 500 students, the school has 500 Chromebooks or laptops, right? You may have a one-to-one also in a underserved district, right? And when I say underserved, I mean like higher rates of non-certified teachers. But let me tell you the difference between an affluent school and a school that is in 53206. Those students aren't trusted to take those Chromebooks home, so they're assigned those Chromebooks, take them home, be great. The student in 53206 has to put them up. They're not entrusted to take those home, right? So here's how this affects everything. So when the pandemic hit, students were sent home, you know, of course, but they didn't have a Chromebook, so they couldn't immediately access any type of instruction that was that was afforded to them from their teachers. And so it took about several weeks for students to even receive the Chromebooks, and parents still had to put themselves at risk to go up to the schools and check out the Chromebook, which, you know, caused a lot of problems. I heard stories of students getting Chromebooks that were ancient, that were outdated, that were, you know, not even worth turning on, right? So it illuminates, you know, not only so many disparities, like I'm talking like systematically in society, like with health disparities and, you know, access to quality health, but also access to quality education. So if you have teachers who are not certified, particularly teachers who aren't certified in, digital or e-learning or anything that, is virtual, then the likelihood of those teachers being able to help students virtually and design engaging lessons are, null.
It's just not the same. And I think when you have so many things up top that could change the structure or the trajectory of education and it's not being done, you got to look at somebody and say, hey, what do we need to do? Because if Brown Deer School District can have it, if the Menominee Falls School District can have it, if the Oconomowoc School District can have it, if Beaver Dam School District can have it, right? How come Milwaukee can't have it?
You have some districts that have a very high amount of dollars that they have for their district, and that's because of property values in those communities versus in Milwaukee, for example, our property values are significantly different than, let's say, a Menominee Falls area or a Shorewood community. And so those districts being able to prepare for a time such as this, where schools need to be online. You have a tablet. All kids don't have a tablet. All kids don't even have somewhere to live. We deal with homelessness. I would say about 25,000 to 30,000 of our kids are kids that are, moving quite a bit, and so some homelessness ends up being in the midst of that population also.
Main causes of African American males is natural causes, hypertension, diabetes, that type of thing. That's the #1 cause of death.
African American men in general are dying at an alarming rate from prostate cancer, colon cancer, hypertension.
Hypertension is a silent killer. And a lot of times African American people, male, female, there are no symptoms, and so we're just going on with life as normal, right? Until a crisis happens. Then, oh my God, I'm sick.
And they're finding out they have these things in the 9th hour.
The challenge we have with the African American community is getting the information to men to understand how things are done. I don't want to point fingers at any entity in our society, but there has been a successful campaign to keep certain information from the African American male, and what you don't know, you can't do.
And I would say the #1 cause, men, I would say they do not believe in going to doctors the way females do. They just don't. It's just not something that they feel is important.
Well, statistics show that there's not many African American men that go to doctors on a regular basis.
You know, so often African Americans, due to a lack of insurance, don't go to the doctor unless they have to, versus getting routine checkups, preventative things, versus, you know, I'm in a crisis.
You know, wives can be more intentional about encouraging their husbands to go to the doctor. You know, we can, with our children, we can make it a practice in their lives to consistently have them going in, doing their checkups, so that it becomes a part of the culture of their lives versus just something that they, you know, they think about doing.
A lot of guys just don't go to the doctor because they're just scared. They're scared to know, you know, or they hear about, you know, the different screenings or whatever, you know, might look at that whole procedure as being violated, you know, for whatever reason.
And I'm a cancer survivor. I had prostate cancer, and because of my awareness of early awareness of cancer, I was going to the doctor getting my prostate checked when I was 45, and I did it every year. And so when they saw the cancer cells, because my prostate had swollen, it was because I was accustomed to going and knowing about my body.
My father had never gotten a colonoscopy, and you know, most people without a family history of colon cancer, you should go at 50 years old. But if you do have a family history of colon cancer, which we didn't, you should go at 40 years old. So my father never went, you know, and really didn't go to the doctor at all. You know, I'd never been in the hospital before. Looked extremely healthy, slim, trim, worked every day, you know, and at 62 years old, you know, he passed away from colon cancer. You know, that's way too young, you know, and he only went to the doctor because he hadn't had a bowel movement in a few days, and he had extreme pain in his abdominal area. And when he went, you know, the doctor said, "I'm sorry to inform you, you know, you have stage 3, I think it was stage 3 or stage 4 colon cancer."
I think us as African American, and then again focused on African American men, you have to take that initiative. You have to take that initiative to get to the doctor and see about yourself. Black men, in order to preserve their life, they really, really need to follow the same guidelines that the CDC and all of the recommendations out there for health care. What are you saying? I'm saying that you need a physical, right? Just the basic things. You need to eat better. You need to make wiser choices. Well, we could have done some preventive maintenance, right? When we have those block parties and those healthcare booths, it's up to young people to stop. Hey, check my blood pressure. Yeah, I want to check my blood sugar, right? You can do that now and prevent that crisis in the end.
COVID-19 is a coronavirus. It is specifically a coronavirus that we have never seen in humans before. COVID-19 is affecting the Black community in Milwaukee. I think it comes down to a couple factors. One, underlying health conditions. We know there's health disparity in the Black community, especially Black men. Heart conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure. And the last is Milwaukee is super segregated. So you have an area where Black people live, you have an area where white people live. Well, if these people are essential workers with underlying health conditions, going back to these areas, all it takes is this opportunistic virus and it can get out of control really quickly. Then you have a higher proportion of people who are essential workers in that community. So you have people who are interacting with a really diverse and big group of people on a daily basis, and then they're going home.
If most of the individuals that are essential workers, the service industry, look like me, look like you, how do they quarantine themselves? If most people in America don't have $400 savings in a community that I just told you has a hyper amount of poverty concentrated in the community among the individuals that I just said are essential workers and don't have access, that already we're having people die going to the hospital. What's going to be different? Coronavirus is just like a microscope.
I believe that African American males, and I would say that because a lot of them don't really believe that corona is real. And I'm sorry to hear, if I didn't know what was going on here in the funeral home, then I would have to say that there's something fishy going on. But because I have the facts, physical facts, I have it on paper, I see it, it's real.
We've lost 3 members due to the COVID-19. And yes, they were older, and they did have health issues, right? But we still lost them, you know, so our heart goes out to them.
Well, I've seen a lot of people die, so I know it's really a serious virus. There was a lot of victims and people that really had it, you know, it's in the air. So, I mean, it's no way to tell if a person had it unless you went and got tested. So really, it's just been a scary thing. And like I said, I think they're taking it day by day because they probably don't even really know what's going on. My mother died, my grandmother died, my uncle died in the last month. And like I said, I don't know why they died, but at the same time, as I know God don't make no mistakes, so I just keep my faith in God.
I'm here in Milwaukee to pay respects to my brother. He passed due to the coronavirus April 13th, the day after Easter, and so we're here to finalize his homegoing. I think coronavirus is a very deadly, a very scary, a very unknown and unfamiliar virus that is affecting the United States and abroad. The coronavirus has temporarily turned our family upside down. We lost a very vital part of our family, unit, which was my brother, We'll go on without him, but his memories forever be with him. But it's not a day to go by that we don't miss him. We miss his smile, we miss his personality, we miss the way he came in and consumed the room, Just the other day we were cooking and eating dinner and we just used to him coming in. What's for eating? Or just go right into the refrigerator and, and we just start our day off laughing and talking and, it's a very solemn mood around the house right now, even though we know, the Lord's gonna give us strength to go through, but we miss him dearly. Personally, it's changed my life because I've lost a friend. I've lost a brother. I've lost a mentor. And I lost the love of my life. So we grew up together, we played. We might have been mischief together. My cousin called us Pebbles and Bam Bam from a young age, And so when you see him coming, you see me right behind, I think I'm gonna cherish the moments when I was home. The last 6 months, I look back over my life. We got a chance to do the Niagara Falls together. We got a chance to really hang out this summer, And so when you look back over those times, you would have never thought in a million years that was gonna be my last time being with him. But I wouldn't change none of those, time for nothing in the world. I go to bed, I hold on to those memories. I see his face. I talk to him daily, as if he was here. I tell him Mama's gonna be okay. We're working on Dad. I tell him the good jokes. I tell him, what everybody is doing as if he was still here with us. Because he'll always be here with us, If it's not you, it could be someone you love. A lot of people are going about their day thinking it has not affected me, so I'm okay. But you have to think about the people who love ones that's been lost. You have to be respectful to at least follow guidelines, with the 6 feet. You have to wear your face mask because it could be you. And if it's not you, you could be affected and you could pass it to someone, who you love or someone in your family. And I think a lot of people are not taking it as serious as they should. It's a virus that has hit that no one has known nothing about, and we have not yet come to a conclusion on whether there's going to be an antidote for it soon or later. And so we have to move and navigate through our daily lives still, but we have to be cautious. We have to be respectful to one another. And I just think that sometimes we do struggle, but within our struggle, there's going to be a brighter side. So a lot of people are rushing to get back to work, get back to work. I think our jobs are going to be there later in life. I think the economy will boom later in life, but right now, lives we cannot get back.
Coronavirus have affected us in so many ways, multiple ways. Of course, the number one way is it has affected us in doing funerals. I would say the funerals has definitely gone up, at least with the virus, at least 30%. At least 30%.
I mean, it definitely affected my business in a major way because still to this day, I have not gotten any funding at all as it relates to the shutdown.
I'm a DJ and I work in the clubs, so like he got the lounge, and I usually work in lounges and clubs too. So with that being closed, it do kind of affect us.
It definitely affected, me financially. The business is at a standstill. I've been open for 3 months before this happened, so I'm a small business, so I didn't see none of the stimulus from that.
COVID-19 has affected the Black households and Black businesses pretty tremendously. Over 95% of Black businesses are expected to not be able to partake of any of the COVID-19 CARES Act relief. In the African American community, most Black businesses do not have relationships with banks that can fund small business loans.
The federal government, with this relief package, made a unilateral decision to say, hey, we're going to make this money available, this $2 trillion available, but the mechanism by which we're going to get it to you is going to be the middleman of the bank. So institutionally, if Black businesses disproportionately do not have relationships with banks, it doesn't say anything about the quality of their business, the business acumen of the business owner, anything like that. They're essentially locked out because the mechanism by which the money is coming comes through a channel that they have no relationship with.
My accountant, he sent me links to get SBA loans and different type of things. And I haven't received not one penny, so I had to do what I had to do to keep my business open.
The forgivable loans, if you will, or the packages that saved businesses were mainly geared towards businesses that had employees, and with, not businesses like mine that has contract workers. So it has definitely negatively affected my business.
Oftentimes challenging for a Black business owner to be considered as equal as maybe some of the larger businesses within our community and within our country. Therefore, some of the fair lending doesn't happen for our Black businesses, and it counts us out. And so we have to use other resources to be able to stay afloat.
It really was the best thing that ever happened to me because I made more money than I ever made in my life because I started doing deliveries and curbside pickup. So, like I said, it was really the best thing that ever happened to me. Like I said, it was a blessing in disguise because I got a chance to remodel my whole business and also get a chance to reformat my program and also sit back and get a chance to think about the things that I needed to do.
One, you had enough gumption to start the business. You had enough temerity and resilience to claw, scratch, and do what you could. So if you built the business once, if you hit rock bottom during this hardship, you can build it again.
In this time, I've redone G's mission statement, vision statement, put on the wall there. I've been able to now, finally, after 25 years, have an actual staff manual, pretty much a roadmap, to the success of G's Clippers.
You open up your business and you have a good product, then I think the people in Milwaukee will support you, And they have supported me for 2 years. I mean, right now I'm making almost $1,000 a day, every day, through this pandemic.
If I could encourage a black business owner, I would look at them and say, listen, our family has went through our history of black people have gone through so many things, and we've came out on top in all of it. We have survival genes in us. You need to tap into who you are.
And so the healing has to start, first of all, with ministry, what a person thinks about themselves, the knowledge that they receive about themselves, and how they apply that. Because it's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. You can say what you want to. This has been a challenging time for our nation, our church, as well as our world. And so you have to adjust, but you adjust first with knowledge, and then you apply that knowledge, and that's where you start. That's how we're going to make our adjustments, what we know and how we apply what we know. A person's mentality, a person's understanding will always govern how a person responds. That recovery starts with information and understanding. I think that's so important. I'm not talking about all the information that they're putting out there about the pandemic and the things that cause fear, but I'm talking about the self-building, building a person's quality of thinking. The more information we can get to our African-American man about his health, about his spirit, about his well-being, about his position in society, the better it positions him to serve himself and to serve our community.
So you can either look at this crisis and say, this is going to be danger, or it's going to be an opportunity for me to grow up, to blow up, to be better, to grow mentally, spiritually. I've seen so many families that have had healings during this time from just spending time with one another. So this is a great opportunity for us if we look at it that way. Follow the directions that the city, the state, the government's giving us to accept this social distancing and not look at it as a suggestion, but look at it as a command or a demand, and really take into consideration that, okay, you may be good, but who you're around may not be. There's a lot of people who don't trust what the media is saying, that don't trust what the doctors are saying. You need to trust somebody to give you some direction on how to get you through this and for the protection you're going to need.
Love can exceed anything. It is a powerful, powerful thing. But if we learn to share it, after all of this is said and done, if we could come back and unify ourselves as a family, a community, neighbors, churches, and fellowship together, it'd be a much better world.
We have to get control of our city tonight. The second thing is that there will be a curfew that will go into effect tonight at 9 p.m. A curfew that will go into effect tonight at 9 p.m.
We are very concerned about the attitude and the conduct of the mayor of the city of Milwaukee. Everyone built him up as such a great hero when there was this little disturbance on 3rd Street because he called in the National Guard immediately and put the entire city under a curfew.
"1967 is not so far from 2020, I guess. It kind of looks like things haven't changed much. Such a complex problem. But we really need economic change and knowledge. When I decided to find out the issues of my city, I realized the power is actually within me. We so often expect our leaders to have the answers, but we have to spark the fight within us. Our community needs real economic change. I came with the idea, but now I lead with a purpose. We have to pour into our community, finance our community, build our community, love our community. So I promise to do my part, and I challenge myself.
Well, for heaven's sake, we have a right to exercise our constitutional God-given right of free speech. That means protest, demonstration, whenever we want.
Through G's Clippers, what I've done is I partnered with Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I have the first of its kind in the city of Milwaukee. As far as having a full-fledged health clinic, We are the first of its kind in the state of Wisconsin to do this, and only a couple in the country have it. Whereas on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 9 o'clock a.m. to 4 p.m., an individual can come to G's Clippers, and we have a room in the back that's set up just like a regular doctor's office, actually better than your regular doctor's office. It has the top-of-the-line equipment, everything in it, and you can get screenings and checks there. And some might ask, well, why would you put that in a barbershop? Well, and my answer is why not? I mean, it's needed.